Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Eaton. Today's episode is so good. It's so special. I had a chance to sit down with two-time gym owner Heather Maio. She is a self-optimization specialist and a creator of a program called Renew You. This is a program that helps women heal and unfuck their relationship with food and their bodies. This was such a powerful conversation. This is about healthy approach to body positivity while still reaching towards your goals and changes. You're not going to want to miss this. Heather, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So Heather and I used to live in the same area, same town, but we've actually never met before. We connected over social media, which I think is so weirdly funny and brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, Heather, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell people who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about?
Sure. So, like you said, my name is Heather Maio. My husband and I own two gyms in upstate New York and Elmira, as you noticed, or as you mentioned. And there, health and fitness is a huge part of my life. It is a huge passion of mine. I feel extraordinarily lucky and blessed to be in that industry. And that relationship, my relationship with health and fitness and wellness in general, has led me to down a more spiritual path, and how our health and wellness relates to our bodies and how that relates to the world around us and how we see the world around us. And so now I'm moving more towards into, I would say, more the health and wellness space as opposed to the health and fitness space.
It's so interesting because I think that when you kind of have a focus on one space, you always gravitate towards another space. So, you're in the world of physical and you end up in the world of mindset, and then you're kind of even shifting into spirituality.
Yeah.
Can you share that journey? What creates that shift of awareness for you?
I would love to. So it is one of those things where I really feel like I knew the relationship. I knew the connection. And when I say relationship, I'm referencing God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. I call it both of those things interchangeably. So I knew the relationship was there, but I wasn't acknowledging the relationship that I had with those things, and really kind of this concept of my highest self. Just, who am I when I am showing up in the world, how I want to show up in the world? Who am I when I'm doing the things that I want to do? And for me, a lot of that started with, how I treated my body. And it's been my experience that until I was in a place where I was treating my body kindly, and where I was showing my body love, and having developing a deep relationship with my body. Once I developed that, it kind of was like the doors flew open into my relationship with my intuition, my relationship with spirituality, my relationship with, just a knowing, a connectedness of energy outside of just the energy where I was years prior, which was just kind of barely getting by, just kind of stuck in the muck, stuck in the bullshit, basically. And so that kind of, I just kind of woke up one day and realized, holy shit, my life is incredibly different than what it used to be, and started looking at kind of how these pieces played into each other and fell into each other. And it was like this whole divinely connected little journey I didn't even know I was on until I kind of looked backwards, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think that's so fascinating. And the cool thing about when you're focusing on that one area of your life, how it just kind of interweaves. And I love what you said about when I started to get in alignment with myself and I started to love myself, I started to feel closer to that relationship with the universe, or that relationship with God. And I think it's so interesting because, especially when we're talking about physical fitness, right? I know a lot of people focus on physical fitness almost in a way of punishment rather than a way of, for me, I have to work out pretty much daily, do something, move my body, because that's how I clear my energy so that I can not be taking on other people's bullshit. Right.
Yeah. 1,000%. Same.
But there has been times even in my past where I've done it out of like, after I had kids of like, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable in my body and
Mm-hmm.
I hate what I'm showing up in. How do we help people in a space that is, they're in a space with their physical body,
Mm-hmm.
they're not comfortable, they're not happy, and it's blocking the relationship with the universe? Like,
Yeah.
what direction do we go?
So I love this. And if you would have asked me this question even 5 years ago, but the answer would have been completely different. My answer now is definitely more on the spiritual side. And that is show up as you want to be seen, right? That applies in every aspect of our life. And I think that we forget that applies 1,000% with our fitness and with our health and what we put into our bodies. And so, I do a lot of coaching with women specifically around nutrition and helping them figure out their nutrition. And what I've seen with myself and what I've seen with countless women in the past is we will do things in order to manipulate our bodies in order to lose that baby weight, lose that last 20 pounds, but we're not showing up as we're not doing things that they aren't in alignment with who we want to be, right? Like we don't want to be somebody who has to do an hour of cardio every single day, has to count every single calorie we put into our mouth, can never have a drink, can never have a carb, can never have sugar. Like when I say, how do you want to be? What do you see your life in a year? Give me your dream life. Nobody says, well, I want to wake up every day and weigh myself and then run 5 miles and then only eat broccoli and chicken breast. Nobody says those things. But when it comes to a diet, we don't realize that basically we're never going to keep those things because we don't want to be that person. And so we really have to think about how do I want what am I doing when this is over? And again, that comes back to that highest self concept. Who are you when you are killing it? Who are you when your thoughts and your actions are in complete alignment and when you are showing up as you want to be? Well, I do want to treat myself kindly. I do want to eat really well because I want to be a person who feels amazing in their body. That is a completely different energy than saying, I want to lose 20 pounds and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get me there. Like those two people may get the same result, but only one of them is going to keep it. And only one of them is going to like themselves during the process of it. Same thing with physical fitness. I very much like you, I need to move my body daily. I need to shake out energy. That is totally different than waking up and saying, oh my goodness, I had an ice cream sundae last night. I need to burn this off. Like it's the energy behind the action. And that energy really, I believe, is what allows us to keep and maintain those results. But they stop being results. They just become who we are. We are people who fill in the blank. Like you said, move my body every day because it's a way for me to shake out energy. It's a way for me to put myself in alignment. It's a meditation, whatever that may be. And that is just getting people to that place really, if you can't tell, really, really excites me because that's when really amazing changes happen.
Heather, we're like 5 minutes into this podcast, and I can already tell you this is going to be absolutely freaking life changing for like everybody listening. No, because I mean, it's such a subtle shift, but it's such an important shift because if we're thinking about manifesting even, and we're focusing on what you don't have, and what you don't have is that dream body. If what you don't have is that number on the scale, if you're waking up and focusing your energy in regards to your like meat suit, right? Your physical body on all the things we don't have, then we're manifesting backwards, right? We're manifesting from a place of lack. We're manifesting from a place of dislike of ourselves. We're manifesting from a place of being totally out of alignment. And that shift from going to that space of I need to make up for the ice cream sundae I ate last night, like that's a whole different energy,
Right?
Then shifting into that place of empowerment. And one of the things that I have been working on the past year of just using as a mantra is I already am. I already am all the things I want to be. I already am all the things I want to become. I already am. And I think when you're in that relationship with spirit and in that relationship with the universe, it becomes a certainty of I already am, and I am becoming every single day more of what I already am.
Right.
And more of what I already can become.
And you show yourself. And I mean, I love that you said manifestation because to think about it, and I hate to speak in terms of negative, but what you said is amazing because those women, and I'm raising myself my hand here because I have been that woman 1,000 times in the past of just, torturing myself and doing horrible things to my body in the name of changing a number on the scale. Like, but we are manifesting a reality that we don't want because we are telling ourselves, I am someone who diets. I am somebody who has to, do X, Y, and Z to maintain this result or to get this result. And so we create an entire identity around becoming less in around treating our bodies poorly and in around, chasing our own tail, where, like you said, if we can make that shift, and I won't claim it's easy, it's not an easy shift, but I will say it's the only shift worth making in really, like you said, get really clear on who you want to be when your process is over with. Well, there's your roadmap and there's your behaviors. And like you said, the more you believe it, it literally becomes like a brushing your teeth behavior. I am someone who meditates 5 minutes every morning. I am someone who eats, a huge, lovely, nutritious breakfast every single morning. That's not a thing that now feels like I'm crawling through the mud and I have to do. That's what I do because it's who I am. I get to do these things. And it's just, yeah, it's really freaking exciting when we can change our thought patterns to get to that place. And like you said, as soon as you start, I love this saying, as soon as you start, you are. This truly is one of those things. If you can shift your head to that different space of this is who I am, this is how I show up in the world, well, it's yours. You just claimed it. How amazing, how incredible that we can do that at any time. That's so exciting to me.
Well, and it gives all the things you're already doing a different energy and a different manifestation frequency behind it. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's some serious power shifting because I think that I think society, and especially we've got hot girl summer, right?
Yep.
We've got hot girl summer. Like, what does that energy actually look like? Does it look like a number on a scale, or does it look like this feeling of empowerment, this feeling of confidence? And how do we begin to really tap into those feelings instead of coming back to that, all the things we're not? I
Right.
love this. This is
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah. And let me be clear. I think it is still fine. I'm not somebody who says that you can't have body related goals. I think it is fine to say, change. I want to change something in my physical being, but it has to come from a place of love and respect, not a place of disdain and hate. So, like, I'm here for hot girl summer. I want everybody to feel amazing and empowered and wear whatever the hell they want and do, but it needs to feel like you said, it needs to feel good. It doesn't need, when it starts feeling crappy, that's when we know, okay, we've taken a wrong turn. What's going on here? What do I need to change up? Like, where's the leak, basically?
So powerful, so powerful. One of the posts you made the other day, like, hit me in the feels, right? And it was
Mm-hmm.
a post on, and if you're not following Heather, what's your handle really quick so people can jump on and follow
It's
you?
my name, Heather, then period, Mayo, but Maio.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, make sure you're following her because the content is, I was telling her before we started this, like, her content is just blowing me away. Like, it's all the things I've needed to hear in a lot of ways. But
I
one of the
appreciate
posts
it.
you made the other day was on following your intuition in regards to your wellness journey. And you
Mm-hmm.
were talking about intuitive eating or rest. And
Mm-hmm.
that hit me because I think sometimes I get into routine and then I force things when I am just beat and can't, and
Yeah.
should be listening to what I need is to rest. So can
Mm-hmm.
you like speak a little more on that for people listening?
Yeah. I'm such a broken record with this concept. But again, highest self. That is such a bullshit caller for me. Like, what does my highest self need in this moment? And I feel, my personal experience and the experience I've seen having the privilege to work with other women is the more you ask yourself that question, the easier the answers start to come. And so you realize, like, okay, well, in this moment, yeah, maybe you do feel really gross and black and groggy and like not that good. And you do need to call your bullshit and get off the couch and move because you need to shake some things out and you need to break a sweat and that's going to make you feel better. But also, in a different scenario, the answer could be, no, I need to lay down. I need some more rest. I need something, completely different. And it's really allowing that answer to be knowing that answer is going to change probably every single day because it's also situational, right? Like our needs are always going to shift, our needs are always going to bend. And as long as, you know, we have, and this is where the work comes in, because if I'm somebody who's coming from a background of having no kind of fitness routine and really abusing my body through different diets and protocols, or abusing my body through, just eating poorly and just not nourishing myself well. These things are going to be hard at first, but cultivating that kind of routine that you feel good about. So again, asking yourself, who do I want to be when this whole process is over? And then leaning into those type of behaviors, then somewhere where someone who is at where you are, for sure, you're going to get that answer. Okay, what do I need right now? You're going to know, okay, I need to get off my ass and move, or no, it's time for a 20-minute nap.
Let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. When we create this end vision of ourselves, we get those intuitive prompts of how to get there. And I think traditional rules of fitness or whatever the case might be has like you do this every single day. You eat like this every single day. And it's so structured that it doesn't give any room for flow.
Right.
And I think when we're listening to ourselves and we're flowing with ourselves, we tend to get those cues and that internal direction quicker and more clearly than if we're saying, oh, I gotta do this. And then also, what energy are you coming at that with? Like if every time you're going to work out, you're like, oh, I have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
If we're thinking about our holistic journey as what energy are we coming from, I think that alone is a total game changer. But I'm wondering for our intuition,
Mm-hmm.
how do you discern between the times where you do need to kind of push yourself and the times where you do need to rest? I'm curious on your thoughts.
On me personally?
Yeah.
So me personally, I have a really simple answer to that question. And that is asking myself, if this did not burn calories, would I do it? And then it's a yes or no. And so if I am just doing something to burn calories, in air quotes, or, whatever, then no, I don't need to do that. But if the answer is still even a meek yes, or like a question or a maybe, or like, I don't know, then the answer for me is a yes. Like that's maybe some laziness peeking in, and that's some like, complacency, or like I find for myself, I'm huge on eating well, but I'm also just as big on eating whatever the hell you want at any given moment. But I know me personally, if I'm putting in food into my body on a consistent basis that's not serving my best needs, basically, highly processed junk, like whatever, it's going to be a lot harder for me to discern what a yes and a no is. And so, having those kind of patterns to draw back on, just like intuition, like your intuition gets stronger the more you use it, right? Because we can kind of look back at past experience and we gain confidence, like, oh, that was the right choice. I listened to my body and I made the right call. Or I listened to my mind, my ego, and I made the wrong call. And so the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But in the beginning, really, that if this did not burn calories, yes or no, that was my bullshit caller. That was my, no, I wouldn't be doing this. That I just need to calm down, basically.
I love this. Just even giving yourself those cues to check in of like, what is this for?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've always traditionally struggled with is I love sugar. Like I love sugar, I love chocolate. I would say borderline sugar addict, if not total sugar addict. And because of that, I've never done well with any kind of restrictive eating. Not my jam. I know that if I start to tell myself I can't have all these things, that all I do is want them. So one of the things that I've really done, I actually cut out sugar back in February, I think, for about almost 3 months. And I did it because I was feeling so mentally foggy.
Right.
And it was so funny because it was so easy for me to cut that out because I was trying to heal what was going on in my brain of just feeling super foggy. And so it's interesting to think of all of these little mind shifts around things that we're doing, and if they're coming from a place of trying to heal and help your body, or they're
Uh-huh.
coming from a place, because I cut it out just really honestly, like, so easily. Like, it was
Yeah.
just something that was just no longer part of my life,
It doesn't feel good.
because I was trying to make my body feel better, make my brain work better, make my creativity as bright and as great as it can be. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized that certain foods were absolutely blocking that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not restrictive at this point. I try to do that more days than not, of trying
Mm-hmm.
to keep but I give myself that freedom and permission that if I want to, go for ice cream with the kids, I go for ice cream with the kids.
Right.
Or so I think that having the intention of like really, really asking yourself, like, how's this benefiting me? And is this something that I want for myself? And that coming back to that, who is that person you're going to be? Your ideal version of yourself, that is such a powerful thing to help you make these shifts along the way. And like you were saying, I know when I eat processed foods or fast food, like we did a road trip the other day and we stopped to
Mm-hmm.
get Chick-fil-A, which,
Mm-hmm.
who's mad about Chick-fil-A? But
Right.
I was so exhausted after I ate Chick-fil-A that I was like, wow, I haven't had any like highly processed fast food
Uh-huh.
in a long time, and it really doesn't make my body feel good. And
Yeah.
so it just creates that marker for like, who am I before and after this experience?
Right. And I mean, I lit up like a light bulb when you said how you feel, because that is like, you hit the nail on the head. That is 1,000% it. And like we said in the beginning, it's the energy going into it. But what an amazing bullshit caller. How does this make me feel? And like, I'm the opposite of, I've had horrible relationships with food in my body in the past. I've done horrible things to my body in the past, as far as, restriction and then binging and just really, nasty things. Again, all in the name of trying to change or control my body. And like you said, and I've done thousands of cleanses and protocols and, oh, I can't eat this, but they were never energetically for the right reason. They were always at the end of the day to either basically to change my weight, which, we could have a whole other conversation on what that really was and how that was other things manifesting, because we all know it's never just the weight or what we see. There's always something else deeper than that. But I did all those things, and I've seen women do all those things, and it's horrible and it's so hard. But you're right. When we make changes just because we want to feel differently, they become effortless, because it's a bullshit collar. I don't want to feel like shit. I don't want to wake up feeling groggy. And I'm the same as you. I like to be in a creative space. I like to have ideas and thoughts flow to me and come to me easily. If I'm eating like shit, that's not happening, period. So I need to make sure that my baselines are covered. I'm getting enough protein, enough vegetables, enough fruits. Like, I'm getting enough of those things in to make sure that I'm clear. That has nothing to do with my waistline. It has nothing to do with how my jeans fit. It's because I want to feel a certain way. And so it demands it. I heard a quote, and I can see how some people would take this negatively, or think it sounds, cocky or off-putting. But to me, I feel like it's amazing, and everybody should use this as kind of a mantra. And that's, I've created a life that demands me showing up as my absolute best. And so feeling my worst is just not acceptable. And for me, it's a huge bullshit collar. And who doesn't want to have a life that demands them being their best? Who wants to go through life being subpar, right? Like, that leaves room for everything. It leaves room for every single experience, for every single ice cream sundae and every single margarita. That leaves room for all of that stuff. And you get to thrive and feel amazing through it. Like, sign me up for that. That's what I want.
Hell yeah. I'm here for all of that. And just
Right.
being able to encompass that energy of your ideal person, being able to be intentional about that. One of the things that I love that you were just talking about, I think, as like looking from the outside in, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
got this beautiful woman who's a gym owner, and you look at that, who's working out daily, who's posting these positive things, and you don't always see that kind of gnarly history of your relationship with food, your relationship with working out. And I think that we can get really messed up with social media.
Yeah.
in the comparison game of, oh, she's just always done that. Of course, it's easy for her.
Mm-hmm.
How
It's
did you
not.
come out of that place of having such an unhealthy, like, what are
Yeah.
some steps we can give the listeners to, if they're in that place where, they're in that yo-yo dieting or
Mm-hmm.
restriction or body hate, like, what are some tools they can do daily
Yeah.
to
So,
start
I mean,
shifting?
and I appreciate you saying that. And I want to affirm that this has not been easy for me. And this is not something that came naturally to me. I'm not an athlete. I never played a sport running up. I was the kid who walked the mile in gym class because I refused to run. Like that, all of these things are behaviors that are not natural to me. They are now, they're part of my identity, but it was hard work to get them there. And I'm not proud of probably the first at least 9 years of my health and fitness journey. It is 9 years that was just completely torturous and horrible to my body. I'm not proud of any of it. But now, kind of hindsight's 2020, I see its purpose because it allows me to help others through it, right? And to show others there is light at this end of this tunnel if you're willing to see it differently. And really it all comes back to what we keep saying. We will do, and I've done it. I've led people through horrible diets. I have a post that I don't have basically the balls to make yet, but I'm going to, basically apologizing for the horrible things I said 10 years ago as a nutrition coach, because they were so just, I was in such a dark place. And obviously that manifests into how I coach other people. Like, if you're not hungry enough to eat an apple, well, then you're not hungry, like shit like that. It's like, no, that's just harmful. That's garbage. Um,
Right.
so really, but that to say, and I'll raise my hand here, I've done so many diets in the name of weight loss. I've gone 30 days without eating gluten. I've gone sugar free. I've done everything basically but keto. And that's because keto wasn't popular when I was in the height of my bullshit.
Right, right.
I've done everything else. And and I know thousands, hundreds, probably millions of women who are in the same. They've done ridiculousness in order to change their body, but they're not willing to sit down with a pen and paper, shut their eyes for 5 minutes, take a couple deep breaths, and say, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up for myself? What does my ideal life look like? And answer those questions. That makes some people very, very uncomfortable. I, being one of those people, probably about like 5 years ago. In now it's like that is just such a simple thing to do, but we need to be willing to get basically a little weird with it and ask ourselves, all right, who am I? How am I? What am I doing right now that I want to keep? What am I doing right now that I'm not proud of? What am I doing that I'm hiding? Like, getting really, really clear and asking ourselves those questions. It's not comfortable and it's not exactly fun at first, but that'll show us, that'll shine a light on our bullshit, but it also beautifully makes room and sets the stage for the person we want to be. Because then we see, okay, these are the behaviors I want to lean into. This is what gets me excited. This is how I want people to think about me. This is how I want to show up for my family. This is how I want to treat my body. Like, we can lay that path for ourselves, but we have to be willing to go through the muck and ask ourselves the hard questions first. Like, what am I currently doing that's holding me back? And we have to be willing to not be so attached to our bullshit that it hinders our growth. And for a lot of people, again, myself very much included, I was so attached to my bullshit for years, I couldn't grow if I tried. And so it's looking at that stuff we don't necessarily want to look at and then getting clear from there.
This is so important because I think that, like I said, with social media right now, we have all of these influencers, right? With all these
Mm-hmm.
pictures of this perfectionistic look and lifestyle. I actually like stumbled upon some the other day who like did before and after in the same moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of here's how
Yeah.
it looks when I'm posing this way, and here's how my body looks if I'm not posed and not
Mm-hmm.
sucking it in and not, and I just thought that was really refreshing as a grown ass woman who sees this
Yeah.
stuff of like, oh, okay, that literally looks like me. But if I tuck my,
Yeah,
pants up
totally.
higher, and it's like this illusion. So when we have all of this external stimuli
Mm-hmm.
and this need for external validation or to fit in or whatever the external thing is, that when we rotate our energy internally and
Mm-hmm.
we rotate our focus internally, like we get our power back to ask ourselves those beautiful questions you just rattled off for us,
Mm-hmm.
to ask yourself, like, what works, like what feels good, what am I doing that isn't helping me and isn't in the energy of my ideal self. Like I love those questions because
Yeah.
I'm a big questions person, right? And I'm big
Mm-hmm.
on like coming back in. So I love this in connection because I do think that a lot of the ways we think about physical fitness is external.
It's 1,000%. And again, I can't say this enough. It is okay to have external goals, but it's the realization that those external goals, they will be a byproduct of the internal work you do, period. Like you will get everything you want once you start doing that internal work and you start asking yourself those questions. And that's why we can't have like goal weight. The idea of a goal weight is just such a trash idea. Nobody knows what their perfect weight is. Like if they did, they would also know, what their perfect anything was. Like we can't read into the future like that. Our weights change. Like that's not a thing. But I can tell you how I want to feel, how what my perfect feelings are. I want to feel strong. I want to feel empowered. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel determined. I want to feel capable. Like I want to feel 1,000 different things. None of them have a gene size or a weight attached to them. And so it's getting people to buy into that idea. Like you can have whatever you want, but it's not necessarily going to look like what you think it looks like. And that's a good thing. That should excite you because basically it's the same with manifestation, right? Like we can't get too attached to that outcome because we're limiting ourselves from all the other amazing things the universe could show us and bring us when we're so stuck on like, this is what I want. It's the same thing with our bodies. When we are so stuck on a number, we lose all the magic that can come from changing our relationship with ourselves, getting to know ourselves better and treating ourselves better. It's like, why would we want to give that up to see a number that nobody sees unless you like share it on social media? Like it's so stupid.
Well, and what's really fascinating about that is sometimes your ideal body is actually a different number on the scale than you would think it
Oh,
is. Like
yeah.
I was always like the skinniest person through high school. I had kids, dropped it all really, really quickly. And I started doing a lot more weightlifting, and I have a big booty, and like it's
Yay for
muscle.
big
Like it
booties.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a
Yeah.
positive Kim Kardashian way.
Uh-huh.
I have a big old booty, but like my weight has gone up a good 5 to 10 pounds, but I'm pretty sure it's just hanging out in my butt, like in the
Yeah.
best way possible. So it's just funny to like,
And
if
you
you,
would have limited yourself from that if you
yes.
were. Yes.
And there are times where I've stepped on the scale and I'm like, "Ooh, that's a way higher number than I'm used to seeing," but I look and feel great. And so we have to be really careful of what we use to measure our success when it comes to numbers and when it comes to traditional ways of measuring success in fitness. So I love and love, love, love that you're redefining this for people,
Mhm.
because that is where all the power and change is going to come from, and allowing your ideal self and your ideal body or your, whatever those goals are internally or externally, that we're allowing them to shape in the way they're meant to rather than in the way that we feel like they're supposed to.
Right. And we know this to be true because we can, go in a room with other people and look around. There's always going to be that handful of people who is just magnetic. Those people who just, maybe they're not traditionally beautiful. Maybe they're not in a size 4 gene, or they're not, whatever the goal weight is. But people just seem to be drawn to them. Those people are just glowing. And it's just like, wow, what are they doing? Well, they're embodying who they're supposed to be. Like that's it. That doesn't have a goal. We don't look at other people and say, okay, I think you're beautiful. Now tell me what you weigh. Tell me what size your bra is. Tell me what size your jeans are, because that's exactly what I want. Like, that's crazy, right? Well, then why do we do it to ourselves? Like, why do we try to force ourselves into certain numbers when really it all comes down to, how do I want to feel? How do I want to be? What actions make me proud? Lean into that. And it's just like, wow, does life get really, really, really exciting.
Ugh, this conversation's so good. So I'm just curious if you can speak on, I've noticed in clients, I've noticed in just my personal life that when there's a lot of stuck energy in your body, it
Mhm.
sometimes stores as weight.
Oh,
Do you
yes.
have any like thoughts on, energy and like just when you
Yeah.
have things going on in your life, like how it fits into your body?
Yeah. And I mean, and this is one of those conversations that we can get like really weird into like the woo aspect of it,
Here
but
for
then we can
it.
also go into the research behind it. I mean, like and I'm forgetting the author's name, but the book is famous, as it should be, but the body keeps score. Basically, how people who have had trauma happen, how that manifests into their body on a very, this is well researched. We see this, and we know how people can, energetically create barriers between them and other people, and sometimes that barrier is very much creating size, right? Because we don't want to be seen, we don't want to be looked at. And I feel like I was funny because I talked to Christy about this during one of my appointments, last year when, our business was shut down. Like everybody, I was in the thick of 2020 and it's bullshit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was very much, my behaviors had changed, but I also, when I don't weigh myself, I haven't weighed myself in years, but I know my relationship with my body. I was up in weight. And I said to her that exact thing. I'm like, I know this weight isn't mine. It's not mine. I'm not worried about it. It is literally the shitty energy I am carrying around. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that extra weight is shitty energy in all, you know what I mean? And
In
that's
every
not,
case,
yeah,
yes,
99
absolutely.
point, that's definitely not what I'm saying. But yeah, that can be because what was I feeling? I was feeling heavy. I was feeling stuck. I was feeling slow. I was feeling just the weight literally of everything on me. And so it makes sense that that was what was happening. And that was how that was manifesting into, my physical being. And back to like creating our realities. How many people, and again, raising my hand, how many people, women specifically, have spent years of their lives waking up every single morning saying, I am fat, I am gross, I am bloated, I am disgusting. Well, guess what? Our words and our thoughts create our reality. And so, how much of that, of what you're seeing, of what somebody is seeing and somebody is feeling, is just because that's what they're saying, right? Like if I say I am going to have a horrible day, the today is going to suck, everything is going to, like, I'm going to have a fucking horrible day. That's what's going to happen. The same is true with our bodies. And it's like, to me now at this point, that sounds like, well, duh. But if you would have said that to me probably 7 years ago, I'd have been like, what are you talking about? But it's just, it makes sense. You can't look in the mirror and wake up every single day and call yourself names, which so many of us do all the time. We focus on all the negative and expect something is going to change. We are literally, that's the relationship we're cultivating with our body. That's how we're telling ourselves to be. That's what we're creating for ourselves, which is just, it's a shame because even though it doesn't feel true, maybe in this moment, if we can just as easily say, I am healthy, I am embodying my ideal self, I am working towards treating myself better. Just those little tiny shifts create such a difference for myself and for so many people.
I'm working towards my ideal self. I love that because I think that a lot of times it's so hard when you tell yourself that story over and over and over again of I'm this or I'm that. And you try to change it in an
Mhm.
opposite or extreme way, and your body's like, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Your
no.
mind will absolutely reject that. So finding affirmations, finding ways to speak to yourself that isn't the opposite, that doesn't feel like bullshit, but feels like we're moving towards a better belief. And I love that you're, kind of talking about this in such a holistic way because I think our body is listening to everything we say.
Oh,
And,
1,000%.
if we have our cells that respond to negative or positive information in the environment, if we have the water in our body, which we know water responds to uh, energy in the environment
Yeah.
or words we use. So if we're made up of water and we're made up of cells and it's responding to the frequency of the thoughts and things we're saying, then we're shaping our cells. And I always do this. This is one thing I'm really, really good at is that when I start to get sick, I just decide I'm done with that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I just say my body knows how to heal itself. My
Yeah.
body always knows how to heal itself. It always does it quicker than I expect it to. It always does it in a way I'm just blown away by, but my body always knows how to heal itself and it just keeps getting better and better. And 9 times out of 10, if I was about to get something, it cuts off pretty quickly. Like
Uh,
it's very rare that I have any kind of ailment for more than a day or two, because I'm so intentional about how I remind myself that my body knows what it's doing.
Mm-hmm. I believe that 1,000%. And it, it makes sense. Even people who aren't into the whole, spiritual aspect like you and I are, it's like, how can you not believe that to be true? And how can we not also then not believe it to be true with how we talk to ourselves? Of course, if we talk to somebody every single day, go with the thoughts going on in our head, how would that person act? How would that person show up in their life? And like, think about that. Like, if you're a parent, right? Like, what would her life be like if you told her the things that you heard in your head? Well, for a lot of people, it would break their heart to think about that. That it would break my heart to think about that, 5, 6, 7 years ago, what that would have been. And so it's reminding ourselves, well, guess what? It matters for us too, right? Like,
Yeah.
it matters hugely. And like mirror work is such a powerful, such an amazing tool. So many women hide from themselves. We don't see ourselves anymore. We avoid mirrors. We don't want to look at ourselves. We don't want to look at our eyes. We don't want to see our bodies because we're so conditioned to looking for flaws. And so even forcing yourself to look in the mirror for 30 seconds every day and smile, that might sound batshit crazy for some people, but it will make a change. It will make a change in how you see yourself. It'll make a change in how you show up for yourself. And it'll carry over into those other aspects of, how you're showing up for yourself. Because you're right. We can't say I am healthy and have it automatically be true. Well, the same is true, manifesting. I can't say, well, I want to make $1 million and lay in my bed and expect money to come for me. We know we have to work too, right? Like, it's the same thing. I am healthy. Well, I need to go out there and do things that the version of health I want to be does. And those things work together in cahoots to create exactly what we are hoping for. And so it's equal parts, just as it is in every aspect of our life.
And I also feel like I love mirror work. I absolutely like swear by mirror work because I think
Mm-hmm.
when you're feeling disconnected from yourself, one of the biggest things you can do is look yourself in the eyes.
Right.
Because you lock into that soul piece and you get
Yes.
out of that ego mind driven place of it's almost like a compassionate
Yeah.
place where you reach.
Because we see, we see the observer. We see something else behind our eyes. You have no choice but to, at least I feel like I have no choice but to acknowledge something else is there. Something else is there in me that is holy, that is whatever you want to call it. And we have to show that part sympathy, and we have to show that part respect, because it's it's pretty amazing, right? That any of us are here right now, and you have no choice, I feel like, but to see that when you stare at yourself in the eyes. It's the same, like, put a baby in somebody's arms, and everybody is going to see that magic. Well, we forget that that's what we are too, right? We're still here. It's just we've stopped seeing it in ourselves.
I want anybody listening, if you have the opportunity, if you're not driving, if you're driving, maybe wait till later.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love for you guys to pause this, go find a mirror, and just spend that 30 seconds. Just make that eye contact. And it might be weird and uncomfortable at first, but I think this is such a powerful, compassionate exercise where if our goal is to disrupt these old stories,
Mm-hmm.
then this is such an easy first step in doing that of,
Right.
do that. I love you. I love you. I appreciate you. Sometimes I'll even like go through, if I'm feeling extra stressed, I'll just go through my body and just thank it, and just
Mm-hmm.
little, go through my feet and like, thank you for
Yeah.
walking, go through my belly. Thank you for carrying 2 kids perfectly. Go through my, whatever heart. Thank you for, being open to loving people even when they weren't able to love you back, and go through my body and just say thank you and hold compassion. And I honestly think that dissonance within ourselves, if we can do some of these compassionate body practices, shifts entirely.
Oh, 1,000%. It is, like you said, it is an amazing time to rewrite our narrative, come up with a couple I am statements, and wow, will you start changing your reality very, very, very quickly. And, this is something I say at the gym, but it applies so much to this aspect as well. But changes mean changes, right? It is we are such a quick fix society. We want things instantly. We want results. We want happiness. We want everything, but we don't want to work for it. And it's reminding ourselves, you can be whoever you want to be. You can show up as however you want to show up. You can have anything you could dream of having, but you have to do the things that are required of you to do to get there. And if you're not willing to stand up and look in your eyes for 30 seconds and remind yourself who you are and how you want to show up in this world and see that you're a miracle and that you are capable of amazing things, then yeah, you're right. You can't have those things. And so it's like, that's the bullshit caller, right? Like that motivates me to put myself back in alignment when I'm having those type of days, or when I'm feeling, those negative body image days, how they just like creep up on you. And it's like, that's same as you. The first thing I do is get right into the mirror and remind myself, no, I don't do this anymore. I don't treat myself like this. I am a creature of God. I am a magical being. I am strong. I am capable. My body has done amazing things. I am not my body, whatever I need to tell myself in that moment. And it's like, yeah, that changes. That changes very, very quickly, but it's weird and it's different than what we're used to doing. And it's different than how we're used to treating ourselves, but that's a good thing. Leaning into that is very, very cool and very exciting.
And I think when we're, if we've tried shifting other pieces, if we've tried shifting the physical pieces, if we've tried shifting our food, if we're willing to try the external shifting, what does it hurt to do the internal shifting,
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I've been diving back into A Course in Miracles the past few days. And one of the lines that I read this morning was, you cannot love what you do not appreciate.
Yeah.
And that just came up while you were speaking, is you cannot love what you do not appreciate. So finding little ways to appreciate the way you're held by your body, the way you walk through the world, the way you interact with others, the way you, express yourself, and, coming back to that loving place. And if we're making a full circle run between our initial conversation and this, it's what energy are you approaching your body and your life with?
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful, powerful statement. This has been so good. So awesome.
I'm very appreciative for this. And I think too, it's reminding yourself, like, this is easy for parents. This is easy for anybody in any relationship. Well, this is easy for anybody ever. We love people. I love my children. I would lay in traffic for them, but they don't put their dishes away. They don't, always put the toilet seat down. And I still love them. Like, I still love their whole being, even though I could rattle off a list of 20 things that they do that annoys me. Well, it's the same thing with our bodies, where we don't need to love every single aspect of ourselves, but that doesn't mean that it diminishes the love we show ourselves. We need to allow what is true within every other relationship that we have to be true with ourselves. Acceptance doesn't mean we, want to throw it on a bill. I don't want to throw a picture of my cellulite on a billboard, but I don't hate myself for it. It's there. It is what it is. I still love my whole being. Like, that is the real ticket. Understanding, like, we're never going to want to see it all. We're never going to want to, embrace it all, but we don't have a choice. And it's kind of cool. Like, that's who we are, flaws and all. We can love it just like we love all the other people in our lives.
Do you have any last minute advice or a last thought that you want to share with the audience?
Really just be willing to get a little weird, be willing to do different things, be willing to embrace the idea that you can have anything you want. You can be whoever you want. It just takes a little work, but the work isn't what you think. The work isn't sweating through, a treadmill run. The work is asking yourself, how do I want to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to treat myself? Get those answers down on paper. And there you go. Like, then just start. And really, it can be that simple if we allow it to be.
Awesome. This is, again, one of the most powerful podcasts I think is going to positively help so many people. And make sure you guys are following Heather. I'm telling you, she has the best content. You're going to want to jump right over there and like everything you see, because it's just good stuff. How can people find you?
The easiest way is, right on Instagram. I post everything goes there. So it's just Heather Maio, Heather Maio.
And I'll have a link to that in the bio. But thank you so much, Heather, for joining us. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicoleEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicoleEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.